Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have.
Bailiff, bring it here. Go ahead, Foreman, read it.
We, the jury, find the defendants, August Spies, Michael Schwab, Samuel Fielden, Albert Parsons, Adolf Fischer, George Engel, and Louis Ling, guilty of murder as charged, and fix the penalty at death.
Order! Order!
And my job is done here. Remember, Agent Dell, there are enemies within, and the price of peace is eternal vigilance.
Mrs. Parsons, are you all right? Do you want to stop for a bit?
It wasn't like that, you know. With Junior, he had problems. It's true. And I did put him in the...
Why don't we talk about the current threat?
You know, he was younger than you when he came back from that war. Teddy Roosevelt's war, Hearst's war. And only 9 when his father was convicted. Strange thing. At the time, I didn't think that they could ever be sentenced to hang.
It wasn't a good verdict, or a just sentence.
They never really had a chance. I can see that now. Someone had to pay for those dead policemen.
Mr. Parsons, you may address the court.
Before Judge Gary has his final say on this case, we each have ours. So let me be frank. I'm an anarchist. And a socialist. Horror, hang that man. But before you do, consider this. What is socialism? The right of the worker to equality. An equal share of the product of his labor. Equality instead of slavery. Should 8 men die for that? They say we're against progress, but it's not true. It's the manipulation, the monopolizing of those things. You see, the whole history of humankind is growth, evolution, and revolution, from the slaves and masters of the past to the slave labor of today. But what's the difference, really? Today, the slave can pick his master. So I stand here before you, facing death, facing a lynch mob. And I've seen them before. But this judicial murder is far worse than the violence of a mob. Yes, I charge murder. The willful, malicious violation of every law that guarantees the rights of Americans. If the law was on trial here, as the prosecutor said, then the government has been proven guilty. I broke no law. None of the defendants did. We stand upon the right of free speech, the right of a free press, and the right to assemble, and upon the constitutional right to self-defense. And we defy anyone to rob the people of these dearly bought rights. 3 months ago, I was safe. But I sent word to my wife that I was prepared to defend myself. I came freely to this court. And I have nothing, not even now, to regret.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Gentlemen, you have received a fair trial. The people, justifiably outraged, have been extremely patient. We have extended you every protection and privilege of the law you so cynically defiled. My sentencing decision is unchanged. Oscar Nebo will serve 15 years in the state penitentiary. August Spies, Albert Parsons, Samuel Fielden, Louis Ling, Adolf Fischer, George Engel, and Michael Schwab, you shall all be hanged by the neck until dead. The execution is set for December 3rd, 1886.
No matter what the defendants were charged with, they were entitled to a fair trial. And no greater danger could possibly threaten our institutions than to have the courts of justice run wild or give way to popular clamor. The state has never discovered who it was that threw the bomb which killed the policeman. And the evidence does not show any connection whatsoever between the defendants and the man who did throw it. It was necessary for the state to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the person committing the violent deed had at least heard or read the advice the defendants gave the masses. For until he either heard it or read it, he did not receive it. And if he did not receive it, he could not and did not commit the violent act in pursuance of the defendant's advice. It is here that the case for the state fails. For until the state proves from whose hands the bomb came, it is impossible to make any connection between the man who threw the bomb and these defendants.
Alan, Quinn, pass the champagne.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Join our mobile celebration.
Is this your new book, Mr. Carnegie?
Yes, doing fairly
Now, how
well,
was it in
though I did
Chicago?
have to publish it myself. Triumphant Democracy, the title makes my point. In it I tried to show...
How was it in Chicago?
Oh, well, because of the bomb. Mayor Harrison was forced to come down hard. He's pro-labor. But now he had no choice. It's pretty much a martial law situation.
Excellent. And a guilty verdict, too. Here.
I'd call it a total victory, Mr. Rockefeller. 7 of the 8 are scheduled for hanging. They're on appeal, of course. But we're very confident about the outcome. Plus, the strikes are over, and the 8-hour campaign is dead in the water.
Oh, none too soon. That strike was like a heart-stopping. Gotta hand it to those commies, had working men twisted around their fingers for a while.
They made the best offer yet. Overthrow the government and take over everything.
Oh, don't make me puke, Andrew. They were just trying to buy the people, and anybody can be bought. Of course they can. But, thanks to Mr. Pinkerton here, we've outfoxed them.
Not quite, John. Until we complete our current plans, it's imperative we keep the unions at bay.
Oh, well, of course.
That 8-hour crusade could not have come at a worse time. Alan, you must keep the lid on labor.
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, give him the big picture, JP.
Get to the point.
All right, Cornelius. As you know, we have amassed considerable assets in a broad range of industries.
To the point.
Oil, steel, coal, banking, railways, resources, manufacturing, and distribution.
JP,
We are on the verge of coordinating the largest enterprise the world has ever seen.
Here, here.
We are about to lead America into an era of unparalleled growth and prosperity.
Get to the point!
Calm yourself, John. We're not doing this simply for ourselves. You see, if we complete our plans to consolidate, everyone benefits in the long run. Wages go up, a mighty civilization is built where, a few years ago, there were only savages and wilderness. As I say in my book, this will allow us to provide capital for a variety of social purposes.
Papa always said you had socialist ideas.
He also said you never had an idea in your life.
We're trying to move the country forward. And this damned 8-hour clause could ruin everything. These damned union agitators have no idea what's at stake. Our industries must be allowed to operate without disruption.
No, that could be difficult.
If it was simple, you wouldn't be here. Look, you've done a fine job so far. And the bomb, a godsend. Just keep the kettle boiling. We'll make sure it gets out nationally.
That's our job. Yeah, well, we have the police, the courts, and most of the press with us. But the governor could waffle on clemency. And public opinion is hard to control.
Damn public opinion. We can run it like a stampede. Talk to the editors. Let them know who they're dealing with. Don't John me. We're paying for results. If we don't stop them now, we'll be overrun by foreign vermin who shouldn't even be allowed to breed. Dress it up any way you want, but it comes down to this. There are those fit to run things, and then there's the rabble. Millions of them, and very few of us.
It's like that Englishman says, Darwin. It's a struggle for existence, and only the best of us survive.
Well, obviously, Darwin hasn't met you.
Enough. You take our point, Alan. We need time.
And the labor are so disorganized and defensive that they don't get in the way.
I can't stress too much how important this is. We're building a new world here.
These unionists, Alan, they only see the interest of their own class, and they're jeopardizing everything we've built. The country depends on you. We depend on you. Solidarity forever. Carpe diem.
Carpe diem. Carp.
Wake up, Mrs. Parsons. Mrs. Parsons, wake up.
There was a train.
Were you on the train?
No, it was not.
Where was the train going?
Nowhere. Nowhere good. Agent Dell?
Yeah. Relax. Look, before we start again, I wanted to apologize.
What for?
For yesterday. For what Special Agent Hoover said about you, about your son. He was way out of bounds.
Guilt. I know that feeling. Guilt, regrets. Sometimes I think they're all I have. What I could have done and didn't do.
Yeah, well, I should have stopped him yesterday.
Well, some things you can't stop. And we tried. Speeches, appeals for over a year. We still believed we could save them. We were true believers.
Was it murder to speak out? Was it a crime to fight back? I appreciate that, comrades. And yet Albert and 7 other innocent men could still hang. So we've got to keep up the fight. Thank you. And that's why I'm here. The thing is, the capitalists know that hanging the boys could spark a revolution. And that's exactly what could save them.
But how about you, Lucy? How are you and the kids holding up?
Well, it's hard. Junior's feeling it the worst. But he knows his daddy is standing up for all of us. So can I count on you?
We're with you.
Great. And remember this, comrades. Don't mourn for them. Or me. And don't even mourn for yourselves. No, comrades, don't mourn. Organize!
Yeah! Organize!
In spite of the verdict and all the terrible stories, we thought... it's funny to say it now. We thought the revolution was only a matter of time. Like Marx said, historically inevitable.
Really? All of you?
Well, not the lawyers. But before Judge Gary's execution date, we won a stay of execution. So now they were hoping to win on appeal. That is when we weren't making things more difficult.
So how's it going out there, Henry?
Tremendous, really. Especially when Lucy goes out. They rally by the thousands. Albert, I just wish you could see her.
So do I. What about our appeals?
Nothing yet, but we're doing everything we can.
Appeals. A waste of time.
But how about the newspaper, Louis? We started a fund to revive it.
Saves the ink.
But we need a voice.
We need action. Hey, Lum, you are friendly with the guards, yes?
Well, fairly.
Fairly. So you get into the lawyer's room. With me.
I suppose, as a part of the defense committee, what do you have in mind?
We talk private. Later.
And what about you, August? Anything you need?
A little private time with my fiancé.
The anarchist and the debutante?
We're getting married next week.
I just can see the headline. Beauty marries the beast.
I like that. First the wedding, then the hanging.
Why so negative?
Oh, history, Mr. Lloyd. History.
Here comes the hot air.
Insight, Louis. By the time the Civil War was over, most of the small fish had already been eaten. The sharks had most of the railroads, oil, banking.
And the only thing left was cornering markets.
Yes, and they've almost finished the job. Organized labor is the only thing standing in the way.
That's why the 8-hour campaign is so threatening.
But it's cheap labor. The whole reason we were tried. Cheap labor is crucial. So the labor movement has to be discredited. We were convenient targets.
And when you fight back, you're called terrorists.
Exactly.
Of course, we did help them along, didn't we?
Yeah, the least we could do.
Ling wanted to be a martyr. They all did. Angle, Fisher, even Spees fell in love with martyr.